Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris Omi. We are going to look at Starters Order 7, and especially to do with this comment from Wild Lasso. We only just received this comment. I was out of the house. I came back 20 minutes ago, saw this comment, and thought to myself, yeah, you're right. I remember getting into Starters Order 6 without very much knowledge at all about horse racing. What little was in a book that I'd read, what little's in a couple of films I'd seen, that was it. That was absolutely it. One film, one book, and they dealt with the story of horse racing rather than the terminology or the mechanics or, any of that side of it. I still know absolutely nothing about how a horse is trained, or why you race a horse in certain ways, or what to look for in a horse which might say it likes running at the back of a field rather than being a forerunner. I don't know any of that. I couldn't tell you a good horse from a bad horse unless the bad horse looked like it was about to die. Couldn't tell you. Not my thing. Horse racing, not my thing. I watch approximately 0 horse races per year. I bet on approximately 0 horse races per year. I think in my life, I've bet on 3 horse races. The last time I did so was, they were all done via proxy. The last time was when I was about 14. Because my family would bet on the Grand National. My dad would go around the room and we'd all get, we'd all have it up on the paper, either on the paper or on the TV. We'd be looking at like the horse races for that day, and we'd look at the Grand National listing, and you'd pick out a name or a silk color you liked, or maybe you just looked at the odds and thought, 8 to 1. That seems like a fun price. However you picked them, me, my father, my sister, my grandmother, grandfather, sometimes my mum before they split up, sometimes. So there's a bunch of us, and basically we all were allotted £2, and you could put them both on the same horse, or you could put them on separate horses. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if we were allowed to bet each way. Not sure. I think it was just to win at that point. There's none of this reverse forecast. I still don't understand any of that. Not my thing. Horse racing, not my thing. Really not my thing. You may think otherwise. The fact that I play this game so much and seem to know a decent amount about it and get so enthusiastic, don't get me wrong, horse racing is way down on the sports I like. Way down. And it's historical where I like it. It's like baseball. I can't get into it too much because my true love for it, for horse racing, is 1978 Secretariat, the Triple Crown Run, and in baseball it's 1961 Mantle and Maris going after the home run record in the house that Babe Ruth built. That's my baseball love. That's my horse racing love. So I get where people come from. I get where Wild Lasso's coming from. I totally remember being there myself. Instructions. You click this button, it gives you a PDF to read. There's some great information in here. I don't feel that it's directed to newcomers. I feel it does operate from a point of view that it was written by someone who obviously loves and knows a ton about horse racing. So much so that they made their own game. And it is a one-man operation. Fair play, kudos to Mark. He's turned something that he really likes into, a source of income, and he's done a phenomenal job on it. But I don't think he's either able to, willing to, or realizes that he hasn't been able to look at it from a newcomer who knows nothing about the sport. So you do run into that sort of issue, but it is a good resource. The website, startersorders.com, it'll have a link to the forums. There is a wealth of information there and a helpful community, sometimes active, sometimes inactive, depending. Just jump in, ask questions, read old posts, just get that information. That's what I did. It really got me through a lot. To the point where I haven't even read this. If I'm honest with you, this PDF, Starters Order 6, Starters Order 7, have not read it. Didn't need to, got my information from elsewhere and by watching videos. And that kind of is part of the inspiration as well. I'm in a position now where I can help people that were where I was a couple of years ago. So why don't I make a video and help you guys out? So that's where we're at. So while also, I didn't think about this. I kind of should have. Thank you for reminding me. And this is to you and all the others out there that are really just confused over what is what and just how to get started in this game. So, all that being said, this is your default screen. Instructions are up here. If you see a flashing globe icon here and hover over it, it'll tell you there is a patch. Basically, you click on that icon, it'll go download the patch. I believe it shuts down the program as well. That's fine. Unzip the patch, run the patch. It'll update. It'll ask you, do you want to start up Starters Order 7? You can either do it through there or say no, and then load up the game yourself. Normally, whatever way works for you. Sometimes there'll be some patch notes in there. Sometimes it's on the screen. Sometimes it's a little text file. It's like hidden in the folder somewhere. Sometimes you got to go online to find it. It is a one-man operation. I don't begrudge him for not putting certain things in places that bigger companies can and we've become accustomed to. But they will be out there if you want. Currently, there's no patches. I did it yesterday. We're up to 119. Considering I got this at 103, I think was the install. And there was automatically a patch for 104 when I installed it a couple of hours later. And I think we've missed 5 or 6 versions along the way. So I've been through 10, 12 patches on this version. It doesn't really break. I don't think I've seen a break at all in anybody's save games on Starters Order 7. I had 1 or 2 early on in Starters Order 6 when you updated the versions. But a lot of stuff might be save specific, so you do need to start a new save to have them take place. This box, hover over, it'll tell you what everything does. Either you want to watch the horses run on your screen, or you just want to look at the inside of a bookies, an old betting shop. It's up to you. Try either way, whatever suits you. These are how good the races will look. You can also click this button, which will take you into a lot of options, including a lot of the visuals. I'll do that in a second. This is what you'll see on the forums is called trialing. So you can export horses from your game, and then you can race those. Let's say you've got 10 different saves, and within those 10 saves, you've got 22 horses that you want to try and race, and you're looking to see which one's the best of the best. And maybe you're looking to the online league, which is, an online multiplayer component that's taken out of the game. You basically export and email your horses or upload them to a certain site, and then they put them in and trial them, and they tell you who's won what race, and there's a whole racing calendar. All that information on the forums. Good people, Leon, etc., running that. Dive in if you want to get into grips with that. A little bit too involved for me. I did try on Starters Order 6, but ran out of time to do it. But a lot of people have a lot of fun. A lot of people play the series just for the online league. So that is to do with that. But basically, it's just a way to race outside of a save game, different horses from different save games against one another. So it's up to you if you want to get and do that. It's pretty simple. But I don't know too much about it. so I'm not really going to go over it in detail. Game schedule. Pick a schedule. Yeah, it's the USA default schedule. And it'll load it. It'll take some time. And then I'll tell you where all these races are and where all these different bits are. And I don't know really. I think you can just, yeah. So you can see here what's being included by these green ticks. And you can see you want that Santa Monica race. Well, here it is. You want to put that on this date, click that button. You want to remove a race, click that button. You know, add Reddit a prep race. So you want to put, I don't know, you want to have a prep race for that race. You add it in somehow, it becomes a prep. I'm not too sure. I think you just click something up here. Do you click something? No, I don't know. I don't play with this. I don't think I changed anything. Oh, there we are. It just creates a new schedule anyway. Click to delete. There'll be more information about that, but if you want to edit the schedule, you can do it that way. You can also do it via text editor, which is how I've done it in the past, but I still don't know. The one I go to for that is the Start It mod, and ask for any help you might have there from MJ Tags, the guy who creates the Start It mod. Absolutely fantastic. Legend editor. There are legends in the game. For example, Secretariat is called Secretary. Everything else is named from what I can see right, but that one wasn't. So I felt I needed to at least edit that. So I did. So you want to edit any of these, click on them. This is Frankel. Frankel's got a legend quality. So, overall quality between really bad and really, really good. I mean, really bad, it's still a legendary horse. So you can sort of do a lot of bits and pieces here. You can book races that it should be running in. You can do all these different things here. And again, these tooltips will be kind of your big help in this stage. I haven't played with this at all. I've looked at it. I haven't played with it. From what I can see, the top speed, the reserve, and the legend quality. Those are the three I look at and I think, that would make the great horse. So that's a pretty decent reserve. That's a very good top speed, and that's the absolute top legends quality. Frankel is an absolute beast. You can also force it to retire at a certain age. You've got all these different bits here you can mess with. I really don't know. About them. I go into Secretariat, look, 49, that's just one below Frankel. Still got the same top speed, still got a very good reserve initiative, or whatever that actually in it stands for. Black Caviar's here. Great, just doesn't have a reserve. So, its top speed's really quick, but it just doesn't have that extra fight and that extra push when you need it. So yeah, you can look at them and decide which ones are good. And Deja, very nice horse. Again, low reserve, but high top speed and legend quality. Which is why I say the top two horses for me are Frankel and Secretariat. They're pretty much the two that I know and that I think are the best anyway. But yeah, you can make your own decisions based on what you see here. So that's the legend editor. You can change names, you can change silks, you can change whatever you want. The website. Click that, it'll take you to startersorders.com. You can scroll down that page. You can see all the bits. Let me see. It's had a redesign, so I'm not sure where all the information is. Oh, in the top right-hand corner, there is a little olive square, I guess, with 3 black lines in it. That's a drop-down menu. So, hold on, let me... Yeah, so you've got a square like that. You click, it unfolds in here. The forums is the 3rd link down. No issues whatsoever there. Facebook page, you can go on there. Quit to leave the game. Start a new game or load a game you've already got. I've got my breeding save here. And I've got my YouTube series here. And yeah, now I'm going to click this button, but it will put my user key and my email on that screen. So I'm going to pause the recording, do it, bring something up to cover it, and then unpause. Oh, this is the one thing I really don't like, is where this key is. It should be obscured, and there should be a little box I click to show it or not if I want to see it. It's my one gripe with having it where it is. So there we are. Now I can't click in the game, otherwise it will show that there. But as you can see, pretty much everything within this window has a tooltip. For the picture and the filter image, that's just the background. So I'm going to click on the picture, and it's going to go back to just grass. There you go. And then the filter image, and there you go. And then we're going to add back in the picture. And that's kind of what that looks like. And then again, the way I like it, I'm going to remove the filter image. Okay. So I had to pause the recording and risk it crashing at all points there, just to put this little notepad window, Notepad++, in the way. So yeah, bit of annoyance. So the big screen on the race course, that's just like a big replay window or for people in the stands to watch. Just adds to the atmosphere of it. Pretty decent. The crowds, you know what? I just decided to drag the window down so you can see a little bit of my desktop there. I don't care. At least now I can click on this and know that you can't see my email address and my user code, which is good. Very, very annoying. It's just below the screen. It's got license to my email address and then a bunch of letters and numbers for the code. So it's very difficult to hide. Okay, the crowds. Normal, animated, or no crowds. I mean, you can turn them off. It'll tell you if you need to restart or not. Realistic shadows. I mean, I normally just, put things on a medium kind of difficulty. Not difficulty, medium kind of graphic setting. I turn the anti-aliasing down sometimes. Take away realistic weather. Draw distance. When I'm recording, it'll go on high. When I'm not, sometimes I'll bring that down. 3D trees, it depends. All this is just purely how it looks. It's not going to affect anything apart from the graphical fidelity and the frame rate. Yeah, the jockey shoutouts. If you see me in a race, I click a button that says go. I want the jockey to go. It's kind of like I'm shouting at the jockey. Go, go. That's all it is. Those buttons that appear in the bottom left, sort of halfway through a race, I think it's around there they appear. So that's just how to shout out to your jockey. Again, those are in the instructions. Realistic jockey mode. If you're riding your own horse, which is a possibility in this game, then instead of you telling the horse when to jump, the horse will jump and then you've got to react to it to get it over the best way and get the landing. And I don't ride my horses, not my kind of thing. And it looks a little too difficult for me to get on board with. But then again, I don't even train my horses. I do automatic training. We'll have a look at that a little bit later on. But people do say you can have better horses through manual training, and you can win some races that you normally wouldn't if you were riding the horse. And seeing as how I think my jockey sometimes makes some really questionable decisions in race positioning and so on, I believe it. I 100% believe it. Oh, speech volume. Oh, I didn't mean to click there. That is a numerical value you can click. I don't really like it. I don't like the audio. I play silent. The viewpoint, I don't really know too much about that. Experiment, as with always. So I disable all the game audio. I like the fractional betting odds. I like using the furlongs. I've got used to it now. There are 8 furlongs to a mile. The shortest race you will have is a 5 furlong race. I believe the longest you'll have is either a 3 or 4 meter race. Somewhere like that. So in North America, usually I think it's about 1.6 is the highest. So you'd have 5 furlongs, 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs. 8 furlongs is a mile. Then you'll have 1 mile, 1 furlong, 1 mile, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, which would be equivalent to 8 plus 6, 14 furlongs. So depends how you want to sort of put all that together. I just find it quite easy to kind of think in furlongs. I can see why people unaccustomed to horse racing wouldn't really understand furlongs. And I used to be in that category, like I say. I come from that background, but it is one of those things that I find really easy to sort of get used to. Didn't take me too long. Display weight as stones and pounds. That's what I'm used to. Stones, pounds. I'm used to that. That helps me think. That's why I've got, I know that I'll be running a maiden for a 2-year-old filly at, I think it's 8 stone. And a 2-year-old colt would be 8 stone 3 pounds. Because males have to carry 3 pounds more in weight than a female horse because male horses are just faster. Just like in real life, male horses are faster than female horses. In fact, I think in the vast majority, I'd say, of the animal kingdom, the male of the species is either bigger or stronger or faster than the female. And so that's why you don't see men compete with women in boxing or rugby or the NFL or basketball. Men are taller, men are stronger, men are quicker. That's just physiology. If you want to break it down to a racial thing, we all have different racial makeups in our nose shapes, which kind of, they help you suck down more air in some cases. So you can breathe better, so you're more oxygenated, so you can compete better. On general, some races are faster than others. Some races are taller than others. Some races are stronger than others. It's just kind of how life is. It ain't fair, it's life. And horse racing the same way, but they will have a handicap because they're on general faster. The males have to carry a little bit more weight. So, while that's on my mind, get that out there. You can display it as pounds only. You can display it as kilos only. I don't know why you can tick more than one of those boxes, but you can. Just pick one you like, and go for it. The rollover help text. Well, that's the tooltips. I don't know why I wouldn't do that. Ambient audio, so instead of hearing, the description of number 3 in first place, 2 lengths back to number 6, you might hear number 3. I don't see the point. It's part of horse racing, it's part of its history, brings you back to an old time, maybe, I don't know. Not for me. And hide horse stats. If you don't want to know how good a horse is, you need to race them to find out. Click that button. I ain't doing that. Not my game. No, no, no. And then I can hide that. And I can go ahead and try and bring up the window manually. Yay, I think that's good enough. Okay. So now at this stage, you've got your game set up to look how you want, and it's time to get ready to play, except that you're probably going to have to come back to that screen and make a lot of adjustments as you figure out that something isn't looking right or something doesn't feel right. You'll dive back into that screen, you'll pick something different, etc., etc. Just kind of how you go. So, time to start a new game. If you've got a game, you can load it by clicking on the left-handmost icon. If you've made a mistake, but you haven't saved the game, if you've made a mistake, but you haven't saved the game more than once after that mistake. So let's say you accidentally retire a horse that you meant to send to the breeding barn. You totally retired it instead of retiring it to the breeding barn. That's fine. Click the Save and Exit button. Go to that first screen to click on this button. You want to roll back this. You can revert to the backup. It only has one backup. But that will bring that horse back because it will revert back before that last save. It's the only chance you've got of mitigating any kind of mistake in that way. That's that button. Be careful. I've done this before myself. Do not click this button. This, my hand is a meter away from my mouse at this point. This deletes the entire save, and it is unrecoverable even with outside software, I have found to my chagrin. The flag will denote what country you are playing in. There are 4 different countries and schedules to play. You can see both of mine are American. And then you can start a new save for that slot. If it's already got a game in it, it will overwrite it. Escape or clicking this back button will take you back to that screen. This here is a little help button. Hover over it, it brings up this slightly annoying, imposing window, but can be useful. You'll find that on more screens to help you out as you go along. So, if you want to play in the UK or in Ireland, you've got the choice. Flat schedule. They just run on a flat course. Now, in the UK and Ireland, there are ups and downs. It is an undulating course. There's small hills. Maybe it's tilted slightly. It's a very natural landscape they run on. In America, I'm not sure about Australia, but America, it is a man-made track completely. Things are level. It's on dirt a lot of the time in America, most of the time. That will be flattened and leveled and made sure everything is perfectly flat. So, it just means that you're just running on a flat course. That's all the flat schedule means. Jump course. Grand National is a jumps course. You've got those fences to jump over. Now, there's different types of fences and hurdles and different types of things in a jump schedule. Not something I'm 100% knowledgeable on. I'm aware of it. Hurdles are easier than jumps or fences. And I know in real life there's water jumps and everything else, and There's whole different layers of complexities, and you go for a maiden race, which means you can't have won a race beforehand. Then you go for your novice races where they're learning to run, and they're mostly flat, I believe. They're just pure tests of speed. Then you've got your hurdles. Then you've got your national hunt, which I believe are the big fences, and that is where all the big feature races like the Grand National are. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, then UK jump schedule might be for you. But if you want to do both, there is a combined schedule. And again, UK and Ireland play that way. Australia is flat. USA, flat. The difference between the two, I think, for me, with my limited knowledge of Australian racing, I want to say that there's a bigger emphasis on shorter races in America. 6 furlongs to a mile 1, mile 2, or 5 furlongs to about a mile 1 in America. It's all about that speed, that sprint, that drive for the line. Australia, I know, has some big races over distance. Now, whether that's more than 2 meters or not, I'm not sure. I think so. But again, I'm not the authority on that. So either ask on the forum or fire up a game and look at it. In fact, for the emphasis of creating a game, we will use an Australian schedule to look for that. And then here, once you picked where you're playing and what schedule you're playing, time to pick. If you pick easier, you will get 5 starting horses, I believe. 2 2-year-olds, a 3-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and a 5-year-old. They will be slightly better on average than the horses generated from a normal game, which I believe would just be a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 5-year-old, maybe. And on hard difficulty, you'll get the worst starting horses, and you'll only get, I believe, a 2, 3, and 4-year-old. I could be wrong on that. I don't play on normal or hard very often. There's not much point. So that's your more/better owned horses. Easier training, I let the computer deal with, so I don't really care about how easy or hard that is. Easier betting doesn't really matter to me because I only tend to bet on my own horses or legends or horses that I think are going to win comfortably anyway. And I don't get complicated with betting. It's just max amount on the horse I think is going to win. So none of that really matters to me. So it's just a slightly easier start and you get more cash. I think 360,000 on easy, 240 on normal, 120 I believe on harder. But since I gamble at the start of the game to get a lot of money and upgrade facilities, not worry about it, it doesn't come into play. So just for those extra horses at the start, I say choose easier. So Australia, flat schedule, easier. Pick anything here. Whether you want to be a trainer or an owner, that's kind of what I play. It's kind of doing everything. Training game means you don't buy and sell horses. You work for somebody that does that. And then you train the horses. And I don't like that. And then the punter. Just purely betting. First to a million wins. Okay. Not my kind of game. But it's there. So training and owner. Simple training method. That's kind of what I go for. I don't want to worry about training the horse and leading it up into a big race and making sure I rest it 3 days before and canter 2 days before and then take it out to trot 1 day before. And if you know anything about horse racing, maybe I've just spoken a lot of rubbish and really proved how much I know about horse racing in that simple set of statements there. I don't know. I don't really understand fully what a canter and a trot are. I know roughly sort of which one's faster than another, and you've got canters and trots and blah, blah, blah. But I'm not well versed in it. So simple wins for me. Small fields, whether you want short number of horses racing or big fields of 20 horses racing. But the feature races will have, a set number of horses in them in some cases. I think the Kentucky Derby needs a decent amount of horses. I think 20 is where it wants to run. So I don't think it would have less than 8 or 12 maybe. So it wouldn't apply to those feature races, those big prestigious sort of trophy races. But yeah, it would apply to other races. Doesn't bother me one way or the other, so I'm not going to do that. Auto Days, news to Starters Order 6, from Starters Order 6. This will basically emulate and simulate 1 year in the game before you get to play. This will do 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and then 10 years. This establishes some game history, it gets some breeding, it gets some racing and pedigrees established and whatnot before you jump in. I don't really think it matters so much, so I just go for 1. Form cards. So your form cards are the list of races horses have run, where they finished, and whether they ran well or not, etc. I don't want to look back 15 years to see how well a horse ran. 7 does me just fine. Don't ask me about these 2 red circles. They don't appear to be there. Don't know what they're supposed to be there for. Just, yeah. Replays. So when you can go back and watch a replay of a race. Again, I go for the minimum because I don't really use them. So 1 year is just fine for me. Okay, so takes you down to the player settings. How many players are in your game? Typically it's just me, and I don't really see the need to have more than 1 player, since it is just me, so I just have 1. You can add up to 6, you can do what you want. Click in the box, and I can put my name in there. Click the silks, you can choose what you want. I like the white black star, it's what I've always gone for. I would like a way to have like a little box, which means that nobody else can use those silks, and every other trainer maybe gets set up with a random silk or as a backup silk they go to if someone chooses it. I would like that kind of feature, but hey, it's what it is. Caps. Nice little green cap, nice little pink cap. Just easier to see what we get. So when you're looking at your horses, you've got 2 horses in the same race. The first one that was booked in should have a green cap. Second one should have the pink cap. Should both be in your white silks with the black star. Very easy to identify your horse in a race. If you have more than 1 schedule, they will be listed here. If you're just playing the base game, default game schedule, already selected. Start a new game. And it's going to take a little time to process and then bring you on to the legend screen. If you want all the flat horses in your game, if you want all the jumps horses, which is just these 2, if you want none, you will have seen Black Caviar would have been selected here because we're playing in Australia on a flat schedule. I like playing with them all, whether I'm playing jump schedule or not. And then I untick these boxes because this is whether they retire at a certain age that's realistic, or whether their career goes on a predetermined path or not. I like a little bit of randomness, just knowing that those are good horses in my game. So I make sure everyone is selected, everyone's got the right silks that they like to use, and everybody is included in the game. over that side. And then you can start here, game starting age. It cycles through. It's got their age that they like to start with. So a lot of them will come in as 2-year-olds. Desert Orchid will come in as a 6-year-old, and so on. And then you can click on what year they enter. So let's say you wanted a few years without black caviar. There we go. 2029. I'm not sure how you get it back down. No, 10 years. Shift adds another 10 years. So it'll go all the way around. Yes, I should do it to 8. Oh, I'm clicking one more than I should. It's gonna go to that. Wow. Huh. Don't know how to get that back down. I guess if I... Yeah, I don't know. But you can set which year they appear in, basically. If you want them to repeat, that means when they've retired, they'll come back in the future. You've got a box down for here. You can click here to change their names. That's what I did with Secretariat. And they've got a list of what trainers and jockeys they prefer based on their real-life counterparts. So you've clicked that button for new game, and it's now building form over that year or 10 years or wherever in between you chose. It's simulating that season or seasons to establish horse form, breeding, etc. within the game world. So you just got to sit and wait for it to finish. I'll come back when it has. Okay, so we are in the game. So when you first load up, you'll see you have a message and you will have this globe icon blinking. So let's take care of those first. Black Caviar enters the game. So we have our first legend joining the game. Everybody else, of course, was already in it. It's because we moved Black Caviar forward a year. And you can see some of them have already left the game. Some of them are already booked into races. So you got their form, which is how they've done recently in races. You got the name, trainer, the age and sex of the horse. Black Caviar, the only mare. Everybody else is a colt or stallion or gelding. Gelding means they cannot be bred from. They've had an operation, so they cannot have any baby horses. But those are the males: colts, geldings, and stallions. A young female horse is a filly. The older ones are mares. For breeding, it's sire and dam for male and female. Their career record, how much they have won, from how many races they've run. And then the prize money they have won to date. That's their career. Group wins. The best races are tiered in groups. So you have classifications of races or classes. Class 7 is the easiest race to win. That's for the lowest sort of horse ability. Then move it all the way up until you get to class 1s. And then in class 1, there are 3 groups. Group 3 are the lowest there. You'll get a little bronze medal next to your horses. Group 2 is the next step up. And the best of the best are Group 1 races. And if you win those, like Q-Card has, you get a little gold medal with a 1 on it, silver medal for 2, and bronze for Group 3. So they can be called groups or grades. Doesn't really matter which. And then the last winning rating and the current rating. So sometimes there's not a first one, but if they've ran a race at 80 rating and then they won that race, you would see an 80 in this first column before that /. and then their current rating, that's up to 140. So the best in the game are towards the 140. If we just look at the list of horses and search by rating, you can see currently in the game, in Australia at least, there aren't that many high rated horses, and neither really should there be anywhere else. So that's the first thing you kind of see is that legend thing. You can check the legends there. The other flashing thing would be Australia. So you need to now choose where your stable is. You've got the location and running expenses. So 3 is expensive, 1 is not. So you've got to try and find place on the map. So it looks like only Western Australia. If you click on any of these, it will actually set you up. So you can see the differences in expense levels. So 2, you can get 1 if you go all the way out in here. So if you want to save money, 1 is best. Of course, if you're traveling to certain race courses, it's going to take a little bit more money to get there, but I find that to be a fairly negligible amount. So it's up to you where you want to choose, but keep an eye on that expense level. Usually when you get into the more metro areas, it'll go up, just like the cost of land and rent and run expenses. They would be more expensive in a city than just outside a city. So you can see that difference drop down to a 2. You go a bit more remote, and you'll hit that point where it's 1. So I play basically wherever I spend the least amount of money. So that's kind of taking care of both those flashing icons. You want to look at your stuff, there's a trainer data face up here and up here. They'll just bring all your information on one place. I don't use it, I don't need to. You can look at your silks there. You can put a picture in there. I'm not sure how to do it entirely. But again, there is a way to do that. You've got the name of your farm, breeding farm, racing stables, whatever you want to name it. I will get on to naming that a little bit later. You've got your top menus here. And then you've got your tabs here. Down here are your races for the day, Morfettville and Mooney Valley. I'll tell you a little bit about them. Left-handed flat. So flat left-handed, but it's very sharp. So I think that's a very sharp turn. You can see a little bit about the races. Anything that highlights you can pretty much click on. Quite a lot of things will have tooltips to help you sort of figure out what's in that window. This does say resize, but I can't figure out how to resize. So it just toggles it back and forth between your stats. So the first thing I would do is click this icon and go take a look at your stables. So down here, the name, we're going to name this as what are we going to name it? Stable as Faraway Farms. And then your staff level. Not exactly sure what it is or what it affects. High costs more than low. Mid is in the mid. The impact is more pronounced at the high level, and it's less pronounced at low level. Again, mid being mid. Staff wages, the morale of your staff. So how good your staff is, how well you pay your staff, and I think that has some effect on training and maybe breeding, maybe racing, maybe not, I don't know. I just tend to set them to high. Your feed, what you're actually feeding your horses. Again, low, mid, high, worst to best. And then, do you want some help at the paddock and starting gates? Someone to lead the horse and help them out there. So $560 per race. You can see the price. I would pay that, and they'll calm them down and help them out. This is where you purchase stuff. You can click on things. If you hover over it, it tells you a little bit about it and maybe what it'll do for you. If you want to breed, then you need to have breeding barn. If you want to send your horses out to stud, then the stud farm is necessary. If you want to have more horses, you can either increase it by 5, or you can spend the big whack and get maximum capacity in your stables. You start with only having 5 horses on easy mode, but your capacity is 6, so you will run out of room pretty quickly. Everything else has some kind of impact. You start with a trailer. That is 1 horse that can be transported to one location at a time. A transport van, it's a capacity of 2, so you can take 2 horses to the same place. And a transporter, you could take up to 6 horses to the same course at, only using 1 vehicle. You can have a maximum of 3 vehicles. Escape or click this little back arrow to get back to the main menu. Now you can see the name has changed and everything else. So we move on to racing stables. This is just a list of your horse. You can sort by anything and try and figure out who your horses are and what you like. There's more information about them. There's more sort of feedback from the head lad. You can find that elsewhere. I don't really use this screen. Enter races. You can also click here and it'll start booking for those horses. This is where you will book races. We'll figure out how to in a moment. Stable information. It takes you back to this screen where we clicked on the eye icon. Before, your finances, how much money you've got, how much money you have now. So you've got 5 staff, big wages. It's going to be the bulk of your money going out every single week. And everything is multiplied by this factor here, which is the expense band, which is why we put our stable in the middle of nowhere to only get an expense of 1. So if you have anything there, it'll show up when you do stuff. You can also request a loan and pay back loans and everything. As I say, it's minimum of 1. When you breed horses, it'll be on this section, but you do need to buy the breeding barn. You'll have a list of your horses then that you've sent to the breeding barn, which if you just open up a horse, you'll see here retired to stud. For a female horse, that'll put it in the breeding barn. For a male horse, that'll put it in the stud barn. And you have an icon. You can click here, and this icon will appear next to your horses. And you match up, and you match up. Repeat unsuccessful pairings means if the breeding doesn't take at first, they will try again and keep trying until they've made it. Usually it is a 2-week process, and just kind of go around that 2 weeks, come back, check, have another go, 2 weeks, come back and check, and figure out what you want to do. But I don't think you can breed for the last month and a half or month of the season, so keep that in mind as well. And then in the field, if you bought the field upgrade, you can put horses out here. It'll take it out of your list of horses that are currently ready to race, and it just puts them out to rest for the year. You can bring them back in. There'll be an option to bring back as a racing horse, but they will be thoroughly unfit for racing for, I want to say, between 2 and 4 weeks. So be careful if you put them out to the field to rest. Diary and notes, list of all the feature races that will be happening over the year. So you can kind of look for a certain race, figure out when it is, and kind of plan around that. And then the transfer list, These are horses I've got from other games that I have exported from that game to import into other games. I can use it to sell these horses to get some more money, or I can do it to seed and start my breeding program, or just to know I have a good couple of horses to begin racing with. So the world breeding screen is this first icon up there. A lot of information about horses, pretty much the same information you'll get for all the horses out there. Yearlings are a year old. They cannot run. They do not start racing until they are 2 years old. Sire is a male horse. Dam is a female horse. They'll have the distance they like to run. The average of that will be roughly the breeding indicator. And if a sire or dam has won a graded race, it'll show there. So, Puzzle Master, his sire is Signore Momento. They like to run at about 6 furlongs, and it does have the pedigree of being sired by a grade 1 winner. There's a grade 3s, there's a couple of grade 2s in here, and a lot of these don't have any grades on their sire or dam. The build doesn't seem to matter, the weight doesn't really seem to matter, the color of the horse doesn't seem to matter. If you think otherwise, let me know. Let me know why you think that way, but I really don't think it does. The dispositions, normal horse. Doesn't get too worked up, doesn't really get calm. It kind of is just a horse. Excitable. A horse is a little harder to control. Might get a little too excited before a race, a little too puffed up, a little too much adrenaline, maybe even boils over when it's sweating and it's so anxious about racing that it cannot perform to the best of its abilities. I stay away from excitable horses. A laid-back horse is the reverse. It's a calm horse. Sometimes they're a little lazy, they're a little too calm for their own good, and it kind of hurts them. But I like laid-back as a trait. Sometimes it can hurt you, but most of the time, it helps you. Excitable, it just kind of hurts you. Normal, nothing wrong with that. That's the default behavior. So if it veers to one extreme or another of either excitability or sort of lazy / calmness, it'll throw up one of these tags. That is passed on in breeding as well. Not always, but it has a chance to be passed through either the sire or the dam to your yearlings. So that's the breeding. The courses, you can check all the courses that are part of the schedule. You can see what they look like, the description, some records you can sort by, you can figure all that out. I don't use this screen. Trainers, list of the other trainers in the game and what they've got and how well they're doing, and I don't use this screen. Jockeys, list of the jockeys. If you want to hire a jockey, then great. If you don't, ignore this screen. If you click on the apprentices, I don't know why both of them are under apprentices. I think it's just been that way for a long time, and it's never been moved. So a little bit weird, but jockeys, apprentices. You can click here and select an apprentice, and you can hire that apprentice. Now that means these are young, unexperienced jockeys. They're usually lighter than their senior counterparts, but they also have got this annotation of 7 in brackets. That means they carry less weight in the into a race. So they have an allowance of 7 pounds. Remember I said that a male horse has to carry 3 more pounds than a female horse. Well, if an apprentice is on the male horse, it's actually now carrying 4 pounds less because it's allowed to carry 7 pounds less, but it was due to carry 3 more. 7 minus 3 gives you your 4 pound allowance for that horse in that case. If you put an apprentice on a female horse in a race with male horses, you get that 7 pound advantage plus the 3 pounds they already had. That's a 10 pound weight advantage. weight is a big thing. Weight is a big thing. It doesn't look like any's really good in terms of their stats, so I probably wouldn't really want to hire any. Yeah, you look about the best of the bunch. 8 stone is something I like because that's the lowest weight they'll be asked to run. So I don't think. Yeah, 8 I think is the lowest. So usually the apprentices come in well below that. I've just hired Clipperton. So he's got his skill level, how good he is at riding, honesty, so the feedback he gives you, whether or not that is accurate or not, and obedience, if you give him orders to run a race in a certain way, how likely they are to follow that. They've got fees, you pay them up front, you also pay them a win percentage. If he wins a race, he gets 8% of that race's prize money, or any prize money that is won, and so on and so forth. Over here is a list of other jockeys. You can sort by name, by weight, by their career record, the fees that they cost. So, for example, you want Boss. He weighs 8'1". He's got a 21% win record in his career. You can see he would cost $4,400 up front, and per race or per win is $550. So again, remembering I said 8'8" for the American races at least. There isn't anyone higher than that. I wonder what it is in Australia. I've never done Australia. So, interesting. Is it 5'5" to 8'6"? So 8 to be somewhere near the middle. So 8 would be good. So I like honesty because I do depend on the feedback. And I like skill, of course, because you want a good rider. So I just tend to click on a bunch of these guys until something comes up. We can't have this guy who's already been retained by somebody else, which is a shame because he looked pretty good. How about 8'1"? There we go. He'll do. Pretty good rider. Fairly honest. I'm going to hire him. And then I'm going to auto book the retainer. So if I book a race, he'll automatically, if allowed, be booked to ride that horse. So that's all you need to do in jockeys is that. Horses, unless you're looking to see how yours rank against others, then I don't use that screen very much. Legends, I see who's in there and who's won the most races, who's got the best rating, etc. But you don't need to visit that. Form book, if you know a certain horse, you can browse for it and check its form. So Frankel isn't in here, but we could see, for example, Francesca has run these races and done that well, and yeah, I don't use that. Racing news, I don't like that layout. I don't use that screen. And the sales. The sales are where you buy horses. You can see here you've got a certain number of sales throughout the year, the dates they occur on, and their types with the key over here. Now it's got 2-year-old sales listed twice. I don't know. That last one does not exist. Don't look for it. It's really this green icon, which is also just 2-year-old sales. So yearlings are for yearlings, 1-year-old horses. 2-year-olds, those are the 2-year-old horses. The breeding sales, those will be your mares. And if they've got a number after the sales, that means there's already someone booked in for it. I'm a Dreamer is a 9-year-old female horse that hasn't run particularly important races. Class 4, over 7 furlongs, so just less than a mile. Class 4, remember there's 7 classes of races, so that's mid sort of difficulty. It's a handicap, which is certain ratings are allowed, 0 to 85. The better your rating, the more weight you carry, the kind of handicap the field down to an even playing field. 4-year-olds and above, that's the age allowed in it. And open, there is no gender requirements for that race. So you can see they ran a 0 to 85 handicap. While they were 56 rating, they finished 3rd out of 5 horses. All the information is there. You can see the going was good. We don't get to see a lot of information about these non-human controlled horses, but you'll be able to see the going, the distance, the class, and everything else. If you click on a race, it'll show you the race card. So there you can see they won this race by a short head. That means a very, very short margin. In fact, there is no distance difference between them. 0.4 lengths, which is the length of a horse. So almost half a length, which is what it's got listed here. And then back behind the leader, 2.2 lengths. But behind that horse, we were 1 3/4 lengths. It gets a little weird. The text here will show you what they did. So this horse faded, couldn't keep up the pace at the end of the race. It was hampered, meaning it was short of room, or it wasn't able to go where it wanted to go because of other horses being in the way, just inside the final furlong, which is 1/8 of a mile. But it was at the front rank early and prominent halfway. So pretty much was at the front, stayed at the front, couldn't find room right towards the end of the race, a 7th of the race, because that's a 7th furlong. So inside the final furlong. And then it faded at the end. It didn't have the pace, and that's why. It was right up close, less than a length behind the leader. Then it went down to 1.5 lengths behind the leader, and then it faded and dropped off at the finish. So 2 furlongs into the race, 4 furlongs into the race, and the finish of the race. The splits are just the times for the whole thing. So you can see who is quickest where, and were they a front runner, were they a chaser, were they a closer, were they sit at the back and then close the race really well. There's a lot of terminology out there. The weight of the horses. So you can see 8.7, that was quite a low rating for the sort of low weight for the horse because it was a low rating. They don't have allowances based on sex or age or anything in these kind of races because they're handicaps. It's based off the rating. So you can see the lowest of the ratings get 1 weight, and then each step up has to carry more weight. And that all plays into it. I don't like novice races or handicap races. They're not for good horses. You can see their ratings here over time and what kind of races they've got. So he raced here at 56. That's a plot point there. Then he raced at 56, but actually got up to 64. You can see that because that's where he started that last race. Sorry, So that's a jump to 64. And then they're currently at 67. Their last win rating was 64. That is a 67 there. So it's just plotting out the chart of the races they've run. You can also see the past performances here. Their offspring, so breeding horses. You can see all these horses, whether they're laid back or not. So, Well Deal again, laid back. Kess, excitable. So that'll probably depend on who they've bred from. Females in pink, males in blue. You can track a lot back that way. But for me, I think the value is the yearling sales. 2-year-old sales can get expensive for unraced 2-year-olds. If you want to make money, breed your own horses. If you don't like the yearlings, don't race them. Don't sell them, sorry. Keep them till they're 2-year-old. Do not race them, sell them. And you'll get more money back that way. Breeders' sales, you can find some group winners. The weekly sales, you can always find a few gems. But it's very hit and miss and random what shows up in these auctions. The only thing you know is that currently in the breeder's barn of some AI trainer and female horse will be in the breeder's sales. only 2-year-olds will be in a 2-year-old auction. The only thing you'll find in a yearling sale is a 1-year-old horse. So kind of pick and choose your way through that and see how that feels to you. But that's a look at all these kind of windows. But the ones you're really going to be looking at are your horses, this main screen, and the booking screen. So let's look at the horses. My 5-year-old. Now, we simulated a year so we can see that these have been the races run. We can probably tell that this is not a good horse. It's not running in good races, running only in handicaps. It's not winning a lot. You know, class 4s it can't win, class 3 it didn't win, class 7 it came second. Warning signs. Absolute warning signs. We can see here the fitness levels. Very fit horse, that's fine. The condition over the year and how ready it is to race right now. Those are the dual bars there. I can't remember which one means what. I don't really look at them. You don't need to unless you're training them yourself. So don't worry about it if you're not. One of the only graphical mods I have, one of the only mods I have is a graphical mod. It is this background with these little lines, so I can more easily gauge how far up that bar is. The speed of a horse, how quick it runs. The stamina, that'll show you what distance they like to run at. The acceleration, how quickly they get up to top speed. If you're running in a jump sieve, the jumping ability of the horse. And then the start is just how quick they get out of the trap. So that's basic information for you there. Again, I only really pay attention to speed, stamina, acceleration, and start. And even then, speed is most important for me. Stamina just tells me what distance to run at. 10% of the bar is 5 to 6 furlongs. 20% of the bar would be more likely to be 7 furlongs to a mile, which would match with the breeding indicators. That may be where it grows to in the future for a young horse. If we got up towards 45 or 55%, then a mile 1 to a mile 2, a mile 2 to a mile 3 to a mile 4 to a mile 5 to a mile 6, all the way up. So you'll have to kind of play around to find the best distance to run at. But as a ballpark, 5 to 6 furlongs is 10%, 7 furlongs to a mile will be 20%, and anywhere near the middle, I would try a mile 1 to a mile 2. If it's got more than that, then experiment with distances as you go. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky to find sometimes, but running a race will give you that information. So you can see the breeding indicator from the 2 horses that have made this. Oops. You know, the sire and dam. The average win distance of our horse is 5.17 furlongs. So it likes running at 5 furlongs. It could run at 7 furlongs according to what the sire and dam averaged out at. But the stamina is telling us 10% is a 5 to 6 furlong horse. 5 furlongs seems right. That's fine. The build doesn't matter. The preference doesn't really matter. It does like a good track. You can see we've had good / soft. There's muddy. There's soft. A D would be dirt with a brown icon next to it. So there's little bits there. The disposition, normal, excitable, laid back, we've gone over. Colouring doesn't matter. And different things you can do. If the horse isn't running well, you can try a pacifier. If it's not paying attention, maybe blinkers are good. If it doesn't, you know, if it doesn't like mud or whatever being kicked up, maybe some sort of visor would be good for it. If it doesn't seem to be breathing properly, well, you can do a wind up, which helps. But a noseband, maybe that'll help it breathe better and run better. There's a lot of debate on the forums whether, you know, one is better than the other, or if there are any ways of telling what to do other than just pure experimentation. Retire to stud is put into the breeding barn. Retire for the game is just delete it from the game. Retire to the game pool to save it for another save, which will move on to this transfers list, which I've got here. A bunch of horses from different games.